Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head a little bit north for this review once again, this time to Jämtland county, which is kind of again to the northwest of Stockholm, but the next county up from Dalarna. I've reviewed quite a lot of beer from Dalarna before, but I've not had too much from Jämtland county, it feels like actually. So for this review then we are going to go to a little place called Tännas, to be specific, in the Härjedalen, which is the kind of Härje Valley, if you want to translate it into English, to the southwest of Östersund. And we're going to have a look at another brewery who I have never tried anything from before. So this beer comes to you from Härjebrygg, obviously named after the valley in which the brewery is located, and we're going to have a look at the Jätten New England IPA today, which literally translates into English as the Wild Yeti IPA. But this one comes in at 6.8% ABV, and this one is a New England style IPA, and yeah, really curious to see how this one turns out. As I've told you on numerous occasions before, it's always really nice to introduce new Swedish breweries to you here on the channel. These guys have actually been around quite a little bit, but I've never had anything from them before. So yeah, I think it's just a case of a lot of the Jämtland breweries must be really quite small scale. Maybe that's the reason why I haven't had too many beers from up there. But like I said, please do give me some Jämtland brewery recommendations in the comments section below, and hopefully I can get a hold of some of those actually. I'd be curious to see more of what that county has to offer, because it's one that I feel has not been covered so much on the channel actually. But yeah, definitely nice to introduce this brewery to you here on the channel, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer, my very first one from Härjebrygg. So yeah, let's go for it guys. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Härjebrygg. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and it's, you know, the support you guys have shown the channel over the last years has been awesome actually. And as I say, do let me know some other Jämtland breweries that I should check out. So yeah, on to the brewery notes then. So as I've mentioned to you already, Härjebrygg are based in a little place called Tännas in Härjedalen, which is kind of to the southwest of Östersund in Jämtland county. It's actually fairly close to the Norwegian border, very close actually, but it looks on the map as if it's maybe an hour and a half or so to the southwest of Östersund, which I think is the biggest town in Jämtland, if I'm remembering rightly. But the company itself was founded by Gregor Thorn, and he started brewing back in 2016. So Gregor has a strong background in entrepreneurship, and probably his most well-known company is Eatrim, which is an online kind of fitness regime program as far as I could figure it out. But he's got another bunch of companies that he's been involved in as well. But basically he bought a farm in Tännas in Funäsfjällen, and his interest in brewing beer began just soon after this. So he started brewing in early 2014 on a very small scale to kind of test how he was with it, and you know, how the beer would go down, and it went very well for him. So they decided to build a new brewery, which they did on the site of the old Konsum boutique. They began that in 2016, and they started off with a small fermentation capacity of around 12,000 litres, which meant that the brewery's yearly capacity was sitting at around 200,000 litres of beer per year. So Per Remqvist came in as the brewer, and as of April 2017 they had opened up their own folköl bar just adjacent to the brewery, and they sell their own beers over there on the tap. I think they can sell the higher alcohol ones on the tap, but they do sell their lower alcohol beers, the ones under 3.5% ABV, to just on site, which is pretty cool. But over the last few years they've basically been building their portfolio, releasing a few different beers and things like that, and they've been increasing their client base as well actually. I think it's only very recently that their beers have made it outside of Jämtland County. I think they've been in Systembolaget for quite some time, but it's only recently that they've started to release them nationwide. But as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 20 different beers according to Untappd, and as I say, this is the first one that I have come across actually, and it was the name of this brewery, the name of this beer was what caught my eye when I was looking through the local Småskalig, and then when I looked into it I saw it was another brewery that I hadn't had anything from. It was a Jämtland beer as well, which I don't think you see too many of on Systembolaget available nationwide, and now yeah, here we are. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Härjebrygg for the moment. That was all I was able to find. Usually I use beernews.se and I looked at a few local articles as well. I wasn't able to kind of fill in the gap between sort of 2017 and now. I think, as I say, I think they have just been kind of gradually expanding the company up, but they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves actually. But yeah, if you want to learn more about the company, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's have a little look at this one then and see how we get on. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this before we open it up. As you can see, it's actually quite nice actually, quite sort of, well, almost, see, to be honest, if I was looking at this, I would say that I would probably think that this was an organic beer just because of how much kind of green and leaves and things like that there are on it. I would probably think that this was some kind of organic brewery, because the label that you get on this, it reminds me of the organic brewery that we had in Heidelberg in Germany. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. The Monastery Brewery was an organic one, and their labels were kind of similar in style to this actually. But yeah, if you want to translate the name into English, Wild Yeti, it translates as 6.8% New England IPA, and it tells you on the side here, my flatmate Linnea, she gave me a nice translation of this because there was some words in this that I just did not know for the life of me. But basically it tells you on the side here about a kind of local legend, if you like. So apparently there was a Bigfoot, if you like, in this area that was called the Funsielen, if I'm pronouncing that right. And there's a legend that he was quite a mean Bigfoot, if you like. They reckoned it was because of toothache that he stood on the roof of a building, or that it was just loneliness that made him angry. But there was a legend that he threw the rocks, threw massive rocks and made the mountains in that kind of area actually. So yeah, that's what this whole beer is based around apparently, or the name of this beer is based around, is that local legend about the Bigfoot, or the Yeti if you like, that lived in this area in the Härjedalen. And of course the brewery, Härjebrygg, it's named after the valley in which the brewery is located actually. So yeah, pretty cool. As I say, 6.8% New England IPA. So yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. There you can see they do have their own bottle caps, which is a nice touch. That one will be getting put in my collection for keepsakes. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. So this beer was released in the Lokal Småskalig. I can't remember exactly when I got this one, but it's only been in my fridge a couple of weeks, but it still should be in good condition actually. So yeah, just been busy and didn't get round to this one for a wee bit. So yeah, this is an interesting looking colour actually, I have to say. Don't know if I've quite come across a New England IPA that is this colour before, I have to say. Yeah, hoping that there's no oxidation or anything to this. I've never ever seen a New England IPA that's this colour before. That's almost a kind of beigey, fawny type colour almost, but you can see it's poured with a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. The head on this one is perfect white, but I have never ever seen a New England IPA this colour before. I really wonder what causes that actually. I've no idea. Does it say what malts and things it has? No, it doesn't, but it says it's got oats, wheat and lactose in it. So yeah, I honestly don't know. I've never seen one that has that had that colour before, and yet normally an IPA would not be that colour. Let me just have a little quick look at the Untappd page. I think I still had the Untappd open for this. Let me see. Oh, this is it. I'm just surprised at this. The colour of this one is a little bit crazy. So yeah, I've never seen one that has this kind of. I'm curious about the colour of this one because I've never seen one that has it like that. But yeah, yeah, the colour actually seems okay compared to some of the pictures that are there. Okay, so let's have a look at the aroma of this one then and see how we go on. It certainly smells okay, I will say that about it. I'm just surprised about the colour, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's look at this. So yeah, with this beer then, you can smell, it's got a lovely hoppy aroma to it, I have to say. You can smell some lovely kind of orangey notes out of it. It's got some, it's got a big oily orangey note to it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's Amarillo or Mosaic that's in there. It's got a lovely kind of bright grassiness to it as well. Some nice floral aromaticity. Yeah, there's a lovely kind of bright floral character. This one, it really comes across as quite grassy at the same time. Little touch of earthiness. It could be Mosaic if it's the earthiness, but really the big fruity notes that come out of this, they strike me as being quite, it's really orangey. This beer really strikes me as more orangey rather than anything else, and that's right up my street. If you've watched the channel before, you will know that I love a big orangey IPA. I just still can't get over the colour of that. That's so unusual, actually. So unusual. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's quite that colour. I've never come across a New England IPA that's quite as murky and kind of almost fawny in colour as that. But it certainly smells fine. In terms of the malty side of the beer, it comes across, you can definitely smell that kind of sweet lactosey note. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of vanilla, yogurty kind of edge to it actually, but you can smell the smooth creamy oats in there. It's got a nice little bit of a wheaty base to it as well. You can smell some of that smooth white bready wheat in there, and it's got a wee bit of a kind of, it does have a wee bit of sweetness to it as well, a little bit of a kind of Werther's Originally type brown sugary note to it. There's definitely a little bit of that in here. I mean, the only beers I can think of that I've had that have this kind of colour are ones that have a little bit of honey added to them. I think I have had a few New England IPAs that have had a bit of honey that have been somewhat similar to this in colour, but I can't remember seeing one that was quite the same as this. But yeah, the aroma of the beer is actually very nice, I have to say. It's just the colour of this one strikes me as very unusual. But yeah, certainly smells very nice. A lovely big orangey leaning IPA, very nice and light and grassy, a bit of floral notes in there, wee touch of earthiness, but the malty side of it comes across very nicely as well. A bit of kind of lactosey, vanilla yogurt type thing, bit of a kind of Werther's Original, smooth wheaty notes as well towards the back of the nose, but quite a big oaty creaminess as well. So this is quite a sweet, fruity and grassy smelling New England IPA in my mind, so I like how that goes together. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. But I have to say, I'm very, very curious about this just on the basis of the colour. Let's have a look at this then and see how we get on. So this one is the Wild Jätten, the Wild Yeti, a New England IPA. It's 6.8% ABV from Härjebrygg in Tännas in Jämtland County. Let's see how we get on with this one. Slange Skål. Oh yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with this beer. It's me being paranoid about the colour. That's really pretty nice actually. It's almost a bit like a kind of milkshake IPA, to be honest with you. Really strikes me as more of a kind of milkshakey IPA. One of my favourite milkshake IPAs was the $10 Shake from Siren, but this is nice actually. I like this. I've not had, I know it says New England on the bottle, but first impression is that it is a little bit more like a milkshake IPA, but in fairness it does have a bit of wheaty bitiness at the back of the palate. But I will say straight away, thumbs up to them for this. This is nicely done, and this is what I mean, you can always find some real gems in very small breweries. I mean, recently I had Fireside Brewery from Öland, very, very small brewery, but their IPAs have always been nice. I also found Emma Buddha Brewery, they're in Småland, and you know, you can really find some just randomly really good stuff from the very small breweries. Not too far away from these guys, I guess, it's Sälen's Fjällbryggeri as well. They've got some nice beers. You can hear the crackle off the carbonation in this, but yeah, I was being paranoid about the colour of this one, but certainly wasn't justified. My paranoia was not justified at all. That's a solid IPA this, so thumbs up to Härjebrygg for this. This comes across really nicely. Where to start with this then? Describing the flavour. So, sorry about the edit there guys, just phone started ringing and it throws off the whole camera control. But yeah, for this one then, the flavour of this is, as I say, very nice. You get that pale malty, white bready quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue. When you go towards the back third of your palate, you've got a nice little bit of a kind of wheaty, you do have a little bit of a wheaty bitiness out of this one, which is quite interesting for an IPA that has lactose in it. You really expect it to be almost like really, really smooth if it has a bit of lactose in it. But this one does, in fairness, on that back third of the tongue, you can feel that white bready base gets a little bit thicker, and it's got a wee bit of bitiness from the wheat, which is quite nice. But at the same time, you do feel a little bit of that lactosey, almost slightly yogurty vanilla kind of thing sitting there on the top as well. There's a wee touch of sweetness to it there. But as you move further forward into that middle third of your palate, you can feel the kind of thickness just goes down a little bit, and you can really feel that on top of the bready base, the lactosey notes, they kind of just sit there on top of that, and it gives the beer a lovely smoothness. And further forward on that middle third of your tongue, you get a nice kind of oaty, you get a nice little bit of an oaty creaminess to the beer, and that helps kind of build the sweetness that this beer has actually, and I really like how that goes together. So yeah, the oatiness that comes out of this beer is really quite nice actually. The sweetness you get in the middle of your palate in this beer is actually really nice too. So there's a nice, I would say, a nice little bit of a kind of Werther's Originally type sweetness to this beer too, which is nice. I like that. So yeah, in the middle of your palate you do get a nice little bit of an oily Werther's Originally type sweetness coming out of this one. So yeah, a nice little bit of that in there, and that just builds in the sweetness of this beer. I do find this to be quite a sweet and almost quite smooth New England IPA. I really like the malt base in this one, I have to say. So again, thumbs up to Härjebrygg for that. You guys will know, watching the channel before, that I love a good malt base. If the malt base is done well, then most of the time I am going to like the beer, and I think this one is quite nice. It is a little bit like a milkshakey IPA in a number of ways, and I like how you almost get that towards further forward on the palate, as I say, you get a little bit of that, you do get a little bit of that more kind of yogurty, vanilla type thing coming out of the beer. So yeah, the oats and the vanilla and everything like that, and almost that oaty, yogurty, vanilla type thing is going in really well with the other parts of the beer. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there, but it's quite a light earthiness. So there is a wee bit of bitterness to it though, but as you move further forward along the sides of the palate, it's got a nice little bit of floral aromaticity. A little bit of bitterness in there as well, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, the beer is just a little bit lighter and grassy, which I think goes together really quite nicely. In terms of the fruitiness of this beer, again, it's quite nice. So as I always tell you, the fruits come out on that front third of the palate there. You get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, this one, it still is quite orangey. If you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you might get a wee touch of a kind of tropical fruit. There might be a wee touch of like a passion fruit or a mango or something like that in there. What hop could that be? You know, it's hard to say, to be honest with you. Sorry guys, another edit, not having much luck with this review, but like I said to you, the fruity side of this beer, if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, as I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue where the fruity esters come out of the beer. You do get a wee touch of a passion fruity note in front of that. You do get a wee bit of mango in there as well, but very quickly on the front third of your palate you'll find that this beer does become quite oily and quite orangey. I do think maybe a bit of Citra or something in this, or maybe a wee bit of... There's a few hops that could be. I mean, it could be a wee bit of... Azaka might be an option as well, because you've got a mix of tropical and orange in there. But it could be... I think there's either Mosaic or Amarillo in this one, and that's making the bulk of the orange up. The little bit of earthiness there suggests Mosaic, but you do have a bit more of an oily orange, which suggests Amarillo. Not quite sure on that, but I think there's one of those two in here. You've got a wee bit of a tropical note to it as well, which could be, you know, Idaho 7's an option, El Dorado's another option, Simcoe, Citra. These are a few things that it could be. But yeah, to sum up the fruits, a little bit of passion fruit, I think just a light touch of it, then it quickly becomes a sort of lighter mango-y, apricot-y kind of thing, but then the majority of the fruits on the front of the palate are more oily and orangey in my mind. But yeah, everything goes together in this beer really quite nicely. The brown sugary notes, the more oily orangey character, I think it all goes together really quite nicely actually. I like how this one goes together. Yeah, this is it's a solid IPA this, and as I said to you, you really get some, you can really find some nice gems here. You can really find some nice gem beers from these little small breweries here in Sweden, and I think maybe I've found another one actually. This is really quite nice. I have to say I'm very curious about the other beers that these guys have now, so I'll need to go through Systembolaget and see if I can order one of the lagers, or if they've got a West Coast IPA or something like that. Something from the dark end of the spectrum might be quite interesting as well, but I think that's a really nice, drinkable New England IPA. The paranoia I had about the colour of this one at the start, I really would love to know what causes the colour like that, but you know, it was completely kind of unfounded, to be honest with you. It's turned out to be a very, very nice New England IPA in my mind. A little bit milkshakey in some ways with the kind of yogurty, vanilla kind of sweetness that the beer has, but yeah, a really solid New England IPA in my mind. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say pretty mid-bodied. Yeah, pretty mid-bodied. The carbonation is really smooth in this one. It's got a lovely kind of almost creamy quality actually. I like how that goes together in this one. Lovely kind of, it's very creamy, but at the same time it feels very clean, and that's probably just because of where the brewery is. I mean, away up in Jämtland and Dalarna and things like that, you've got very, very clean mountain water, and you can really feel that kind of cleanliness in the beer. A lot of people say, you know, the water quote doesn't affect the beer taste and things like that, but I really think it does, and that's probably just something that I bring with me from Scotland, from having, you know, tried different whiskies and beers and stuff like that over the years. But you really can feel the cleanliness of the water in the beer in the water of this beer. For me, it really has a nice, really clean vibe to it, sitting on top of that smoothness that the beer has. It's really nicely. I really like that about drinking the beers from northern Sweden. Although I don't. You know, Jämtland is probably only about halfway up Sweden. Sweden is, you know, deceptively long, to be honest with you, as a country. When you see Sweden on the map, the length that you see there does not do the size of Sweden justice, actually. It's a huge, huge place. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, mid-bodied, lovely and smooth underneath, but it's got a real kind of cleanliness to it in some way as well. In terms of bitterness, I've got a feeling this one might be a little bit more bitter, to be honest with you. You get a little bit. I think the bitterness builds in this one. Further you go into the aftertaste, you do get more of the kind of nice big floral, aromatic-y, spicy notes out of the beer. Lovely bit of big kind of grassiness there. But yeah, I like how that goes together. I really like how that side of the beer goes together. It's got a nice, I'd say about 30, maybe 35, 40 IBUs at a push. It's got a nice kind of, it's got a nice little bit of that floral aromaticity lingering there, which is quite nice. The fruity side of the beer for me is quite oily, and as I say, the malt base is really smooth. It's got a bit, the lactose is obviously giving it that smoothness, and it comes across as a bit milkshakey and a bit sweet, almost a little touch candied, to be honest with you. But yeah, I like how that all goes together. This is one of these beers where everything just really works quite nicely. But this is, I have to say this one was really very nice actually. This might be another kind of gem brewery that I found. I mean, I found some really good small breweries like Fjäderholmarnas, Fireside have been good, Emmaboda, Sielen's Fjällbryggeri as well. They're doing some really nice beers. I love this, that you can go to the very small breweries in Sweden and find some really nicely done beers actually, and it seems that Härjebrygg are another example of that, so thumbs up to them. I have enjoyed this beer, and I certainly will keep an eye out for other beers that these guys are releasing through the locale of Småskalig. So, you know, have a go at these guys if you get the chance. It's a bit of a shame that they've been around for a good couple of years and I've not managed to review them yet, and I'm saying that on the basis of this beer because I have been, you know, pretty impressed with that actually. So yeah, have a go at this one. In some ways it reminds me of the brewery in Halmstad. The name of it's gone right out of my head now, but there's a farm brewery near Halmstad that do some really nice beers as well. This one kind of reminds me of it's like a slightly smaller version of their Alna double IPA, Vapnugårdsbryggeri, I want to say. This one is kind of like a more milkshakey and kind of almost slightly sweeter version, a baby alcohol version of that actually. It really reminds me of that beer. I have to say. So yeah, if you like Vapnogårds Brewery, very good brewery from Halland, incidentally, you will enjoy this one, I think. This is a really nice find, actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. This one was the Wild Jätten, the Wild Yeti, a New England IPA at 6.8% ABV from Härjebrygg in Tännas in Jämtland County. This was a really nice find, this one, and even though I had to edit the video a few times, just things happening, but yeah, I enjoyed reviewing this beer, and I hope that you guys enjoyed my take on it as well. So let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Härjebrygg as well. We will return to these guys at some point in the near future, quite definitely, because I've enjoyed this one, but do let me know some other Jämtland breweries that you guys would like to see me check out in the description below. But yeah, hopefully we can get one of these done again soon. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys very, very soon. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Make sure you check out Härjebrygg from Tännas in Jämtland County here in Sweden. Till the next time, slàinte, skål, cheers.